Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. One thing that often comes up when you talk about Bigfoot is the idea that the government somehow wants to cover up his existence. Why would they do that? Let's talk about it and let's get weird. Okay, so we've kind of circled around this topic before of the government being somehow involved with Bigfoot and somehow trying to conceal Bigfoot. You know, there have been a couple shows where we've watched where people have seen government helicopters or black helicopters flying, you know, where Bigfoot sightings are. There was an episode of Expedition Bigfoot where Bryce got one of his hot gas station tips, where some dude in the gas station just flagged him down to say that the government had just bought a bunch of land in Washington state where Bigfoot had been sighted near an airbase. And there have even been some cases where Bigfoot sightings are discredited in a very targeted manner, almost like somebody was manipulating the press. I've even heard that suggested about the new documentary that we talked about in an earlier podcast, the one that kind of discredits the Patterson-Gimlin film. There are a couple people who believe that could be government misinformation.
Government propaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funded by them too, probably.
Yeah, could be. I don't know, but you know, it begs the question, why? I mean, why would the government care one way or another if Bigfoot exists or if we know that Bigfoot exists? And I guess there are a couple possibilities on that.
Yeah, and one of them is that Bigfoot could be an endangered species. This one really could be following the more evolution chain theory of Bigfoot and many others. That's just the closest one, in my perspective. And things like logging, where we've been hearing a lot about the whole we're running out of trees on Earth and not a lot of plant life, so it's becoming a big problem. So yeah, with the lack of trees, Bigfoot's could obviously a bunch of food chains could be absolutely ruined by that, and maybe it worked its way all the way up to Bigfoot, to where he is running out of food. Maybe assuming it's a carnivore or I guess also omnivore, really. But yeah, assuming all of that.
So if he were exposed as a real creature and an endangered species, then the government would have to protect him. And they'd have to basically say no to all these people logging, right? They'd have to say, you know, you can't cut down these trees. This is a Bigfoot protected habitat.
Yeah, and that costs them a lot of money, so they're not going through with that.
Yeah.
One is mining. They
Same theory, right?
yeah, pretty much. It really is.
I mean, if they're an endangered species, I mean, well, we've seen particularly with the Alaska and Canadian Bigfoot, these sightings occur right around gold mines. There are a lot of old stories with, you know, Bigfoot, you know, tearing up gold mines and things like that.
Yeah, you're getting angry because you're mining its gold and,
exactly.
And coal.
Yep.
Maybe it's because he's just looking for a heat source, so he could light the coal on fire or something.
Yeah.
It's like near a coal mine.
Or he needs the gold for electronic components in his spaceship, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Once more similar with the coal thing, oil drilling.
That's really key now, because with what's going on in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, pretty soon America is going to be even more focused on self-reliance with oil, and so is Canada. And they're going to be looking to do this shale drilling and fracking and all this stuff that is so disruptive to the environment. And you can imagine how excited the government's going to be if they hear that they can't do this because there's a Bigfoot in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of transitions to another concept that should definitely be pretty clear. Is that when people will come across a giant predator that they're not familiar with, they're gonna freak out.
True. And
they're gonna, you know, there's gonna be protests maybe, depending on the location, I guess, and context. And there's gonna be a lot of people that just are not really okay with a Bigfoot being around there.
You know, it's weird. You make it protests on both sides. You're going to have like half the people out there saying, protect us from Bigfoot, hunt these things down. And the other half saying, save the Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a weird sight to see from this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the government doesn't want anything like that. They're trying to minimize the protests one way or another. And the best way to prevent that is just to make sure Bigfoot doesn't see a light of day from people.
And that's very similar to the theory people have about the alien cover-up or the UFO cover-up. When people talk about the idea that, UFOs are here and aliens are here, but the government doesn't want you to know, that's often cited as, you can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to keep those forests, because if they go away, then where are they gonna go? The city.
Right. Bigfoot may be your next Uber driver.
Yeah.
Bigfoot gonna cross Chicago.
Yeah. It would be sad. See a big old Bigfoot just walking down through Lower Whacker Drive, maybe that's setting up a tent or something and looking for change. We don't need that. The world doesn't need that.
Yeah, probably not.
Then there's also the theory that the government made Bigfoot possibly as like a weapon.
It's very similar to some of the Dogman stuff we've talked about before.
Yeah, for sure. Although we don't see Bigfoot being as aggressive as Dogman.
No,
encounter.
That's true. He certainly has the capability, though. I mean, he seems to have like 3 times or 4 times the strength of a human being.
Yeah.
And, bigger and faster. Able to jump ridiculously long distances.
Be like the Hulk.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Maybe more like the original Incredible Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like I don't even know the real height of that one, but big guy.
Yeah.
And Bigfoot could also be possibly like a surveillance asset, maybe spying on certain people.
Yeah, I would imagine if you've got an enemy that's in a jungle or a forest or something and you wanted to find out more about where their positions were, look at how hard it is for us to find Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You drop him in there, you'd never know he's there. I don't know how he'd report back. I don't know if he has a functional language or if they'd put a camera on him or what. But
So many people that claim that Bigfoot just squats down and watches them from afar.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
Yeah, and maybe it's the different governments for different countries. Maybe they have Bigfoot going to different countries and look at what they're doing.
Yeah, maybe.
And then also it's possible that government made Bigfoots as like an experiment.
Kind of a medical experiment gone wrong kind of thing, or
Yeah, something gone wrong.
yeah.
He's immune. It works me.
I think we've found a cure for hair loss here, but there's an unusual side effect.
Yeah.
That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, maybe because a lot of people say that they see like a human face on Bigfoot. Maybe these are actually humans, just, I don't know, genetically modified.
Yeah, and don't rule out the possibility that it wasn't even a government experiment. I mean, it could have been like a pharmaceutical company or something that was trying to create some wonder drug to cure cancer or something, and when they brought it to human testing, they created like 9 or 10 Bigfoots. And the government, having so much funding from the pharmaceutical companies, so many politicians get so many donations from the pharmaceutical companies. I don't think it would take much for them to just kind of be nudged into, hey, can you make this problem disappear for us? Just tell everybody they didn't see anything, and if you can get to them before anybody else does, that would be great. Well, that brings us to my favorite idea, which is the idea that Bigfoot is an alien. We've talked about this a few times. People see the orbs and sometimes actual UFOs in the sky when they sight Bigfoot. Bigfoot's seeming ability to disappear or cloak or travel between dimensions or things like that. They all kind of speak to higher technology and some sort of link to extraterrestrials. And if that were the case, then they would just be part of the extraterrestrial cover-up. The government would consider them another type of alien that we're not ready to know about yet. So I could see that. So the question is, do you guys think that the government is actively trying to cover up Bigfoot, number one? And number two, what do you think is the most likely reason if they are?
Well, I believe that they are. I mean, there's so many people who have said they truly do believe and have seen Bigfoot. It's just weird that we've seen so many government officials claim this isn't a thing at all and shouldn't be looked at all.
Yeah, there hasn't been a president since Theodore Roosevelt who was willing to come out and say they believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah, not at all.
I think if people really report seeing like Men in Black after Mothman sightings, after UFO sightings. I personally don't see a reason why they wouldn't after Bigfoot sightings and cover them up.
And what do you guys think about the reasons for this? What do you think is the most likely cause for the government to cover these things up?
Panic, for sure. Panic would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Although a lot of people are panicked about other things in general.
Yeah.
Always panicked.
I mean, maybe they're not even having a problem with this today because of how many conflicts there are and how mixed up politics is. Just Bigfoot isn't even in the question much anymore.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe they just don't call attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest argument against this being a government cover-up is right now they seem to be trying to come up with as many distractions as possible in the government. So
Yeah.
if they could throw that Bigfoot file out on the table for us to take a look at, I have a feeling a lot of people would get distracted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you guys are saying, and I tend to agree that there is some sort of government cover-up taking place here. I don't know to what degree. I don't know. I doubt very seriously that the whole government is in on it. I doubt very seriously that, it's something they're like teaching every soldier in boot camp or something, look out for the Bigfoots. Although a couple people claim they are in certain locations. But I guess I differ a little bit on the panic thing. When it comes to government, I'm, I guess, more cynical because I've been alive longer. I always say follow the money. And if they're trying to cover something up, there has to be a really strong financial reason for it. And to me, the strongest financial reason is the endangered species idea. The idea that if people accept that Bigfoot exists, there are going to be people who are screaming, "Save the Bigfoot," and throwing themselves in front of logging trucks and drilling machines and everything else, and slowing down the economy and stopping the government from doing what they want to do in terms of their money-making operations. So,
Yeah, it's understandable. That is sort of a variation of panic, though. Not in the direct way that we were thinking of.
True. It would certainly create panic in different ways.
Yeah.
You'd have the rich people who fund the campaigns of our politicians panicking because their operations are being slowed down. You'd have environmentalists panicking because, we're killing an endangered species. And you'd have people like us panicking because we haven't even got to see Bigfoot yet, and they might disappear before we get to look at one.
Yeah, what a shame.
Yeah.
Unless they're from different dimensions or something.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to ask earlier, have you guys watched the short, I guess, sort of series called Sassy the Sasquatch on YouTube?
No.
I don't think
Okay,
so.
I'd recommend that you guys watch that. I feel like you guys would really like it.
Okay.
It's called Sassy the Sasquatch.
Okay. Is it like an AI thing?
No, it's a real animated series kind of thing, and
Oh,
it's really funny. It's a wild ride, but just imagine everything that we just talked about in one series.
Oh.
It's really funny.
Okay. I may fire that up tomorrow.
All right.
Hey, well, if any of you have any thoughts on this, we'd love to hear them. If any of you have any thoughts on where we need to be looking for Bigfoot, particularly in the Illinois area, we'd love to hear them. As always, we thank you very much for listening, for subscribing, and special thanks to those of you who've made donations. I don't think we've called you out before, but we really appreciated that too. And keep listening, keep telling your friends, and we will keep looking and talking.